I work for the daily newspaper Ouest, which is based in Bordeaux, and I'm very happy to be here. Very happy to.
In Bordeaux.
Thank you.
Bordeaux, ouais. So tell me, how did you two meet? How did it happen?
Do you want the truth?
Yes, please.
I'm not sure I want to tell the truth.
Let me hear this.
No. We've been asked that question so many times. I'm just tempted to lie and say we met in the Foreign Legion, or we met on Tinder. We met kind of by accident, and through a song that I heard that he'd recorded, and we decided we would do it together. But we didn't know much about each other apart from the fact that we liked each other, and we'd like to sing together. So one song led to another song, and then another, and another, and another, and we ended up with a record, an album, where we had really no intention of doing that. Just was a series of accidents.
Okay.
I think the best things in music are always happy accidents. Always.
Okay. Did you want to work with a Sting or another international artist like that for a long time?
Absolutely. I didn't have it in my head to actually do a full project, but I really wanted him on the song.
Okay.
Don't Make Me Wait. And initially when we did it, he was only on the hook. He was on the chorus. And when we came back, we decided he should have more on the song and do another verse. And during the time that we did the verse, it gave us the opportunity to really develop some sort of a rapport and really kind of understand each other and realize that we had a lot in common and that we really like a lot of things the same in music and like the process of doing music together, and then that led to which is now the project.
But also we have a lot in common. That's true, but we also have differences, and the differences are dynamic. So his voice and my voice are very different. But they we color each other's songs, and so I say it's 1 + 1 = 3. But again, it's an accident. It's not a plan. It just happens to be that way. I love the sound of his voice. I love his energy, and he adds something to the song that I couldn't have done.
How did you proceed with the work? Did you actually write the songs together? Did you?
It depends. All the songs are different. He'd come in with an idea for a song. I'd come in with an idea for a song, and then we'd do it to a certain point, and then I'd invite him on, or vice versa. But there was no one way of doing it. We were just open to the ideas coming and then working on them until they were good. But the main thing was we just enjoyed it. The process was more important than the result. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I watched the small video of you guys in the studio recording, and the atmosphere seemed to be very lively and very very funny as well.
Yeah, there was a lot of jokes. A lot of funny moments. It was very light and easy. You would think that because we're both, successful in our own right, and you'd think that there'd be clashing of egos. And I think the fact that there was mutual respect for each other as musicians and as individuals made it easy to go to move forward and making music. So I don't think we ever found a moment where we disagreed on anything. There are moments that I might have one, and if there is any disagreement, which is very little, there was an easy compromise, and it went pretty smooth where that was concerned. And I quite liked and really enjoyed the process. And it certainly has moved me in a way to where if it were me doing music in the future, it has certainly enhanced the way I will be making music in the future.
I think it's interesting, we are both alpha males, but we're alpha males at a time in our lives when we have nothing to prove. I don't need to be, more powerful than him. He doesn't need to be more powerful than me. So we just very relaxed about it, which is it's a good place to be. And I think the music reflects that. It reflects a balance, you know.
What is, Shaggy, what is the thing that you like the most about this guy?
His humility. Crazy humility. I mean, I love the fact that he's an incredible musician, because he could do something that I can't. And he does it, not just that he can do it, but he does it incredibly well. Like, you know, he'll sit, I walked in his house and I'm seeing trombone and I'm seeing, what do you call it? Mouth organ? Harmonica. You know, I'm seeing, you know, pianos, guitars, bass, and he plays it all. And just to be a musician like that, where you just play all those instruments. I mean, some better than some, I would imagine. Mm-hmm. You know, but you know, he's a massive, massive superstar, and he's accomplished a lot in life, in his career. But if you see him on one-on-one, and you meet him and his wife, and Trudy, she's, you know, the humility is very recognizable of how humble they are and how approachable they are. And what I take, you know, there's people that are famous. If somebody asks them a question or whatever it is, and they see them, I mean, hi, hello, and keep it moving, he'll actually engage people in a conversation. And I think that's very important. So that's definitely one of the things.
The same question goes to you, Sting.
Yeah, you know, Shaggy is not a formally trained musician, but he feels music and understands music with every cell in his body. So he's a natural musician. And what he has that I don't have is a spontaneity, an ability to create music instantly, on the spot, in public. Whereas I'm very private in my process, he's very public. And it's a miracle to watch him make songs in real time. And he forced me into that way of working too. You know, he sort of brought me into that world, which wasn't quite comfortable for me. So both of us were led into areas that weren't familiar, and in that we both had to raise our game. Okay. So I'm grateful to him for challenging me in that way. So.
And what is the thing that Shaggy has that annoys you the most?
Annoys me.
You come up with original questions now. I like that.
I don't think he doesn't annoy me at all. I mean, he has a great laugh, and a great spirit and a sense of humor and a great energy. It doesn't annoy me.
Be careful.
There's gotta be something though.
You don't annoy me.
No.
Are you hearing me?
Aren't I annoying just asking you that to find something annoying?
So, guess what? The same question goes to you now. What pisses you off about this thing?
You can answer.
No, I tell you what. If I have to look for something, it would be in the process when we were creating. He would start at one, and he'll go through a whole bunch of process, and then come back to the original. And this will take sometimes hours, and sometimes it will take days. But it was a process that I now adapt in a sense, because him and I had a conversation where he says he's never put a record out that he doesn't like. I'm like, shit, I put so much shit out that I don't like. You know? But and it made sense to me when he said it, because these music are compositions, they're your work, and it will be out there, and they'll somehow outlive you at some point. And you would like whatever you put out there to be something that you really appreciate and you really like. And it made me think, I'm like, okay, so that's why you spend a lot more time in making music, in the process of making music. And for me, it was just like, normally I do it, so like he was saying, how spontaneous, how quick. I used to do them really, really quick. He's not, like if I'm doing an album, I do 50 songs. Then I'll pick 10 or 12 or whatever it is. And he's very meticulous and more structured in how he makes each record. That process was a little frustrating to me in the beginning. But as we continue to go along, because the outcome was always really pleasing, like he'll start something and I'm like, oh fuck, where are we going with this shit? And then at the end of it's brilliant. And I was like, and I've seen, and it's not just one time; it's more than one time that I've seen him do it. And his process, go through that whole process, and I'm like, and the outcome is always something that I really like. You know what I mean? So, that if I had to pick anything, it would be that. But it's not even that, because I really enjoy.
I like to exhaust every possibility before I'm satisfied.
Yeah, he goes through every key, every tempo, every chord structure. He goes through all of that. And he might very well come back to the very first one he did. You know what I mean? And he's done it more than one time, almost on almost every song he has done it. And so in the initial stage of doing it, I was like a little taken back. I was like, oh fuck, I gotta go through this again. But every time he did it, it came out really, really great.
Do you, Sting, have the feeling that this album is fully excuse me, my English is rusty, right?
Or French sucks, so it's okay.
You have the feeling that this album is your first time with the Caribbean music for a whole album?
No, I would point out that this is not a reggae album at all. This is the common ground we shared. This is something that we both love and respect, him being an authentic reggae artist. But what we've made is a pop album. The ground floor is reggae, but on top of that we built many other different genres. It's a pop record, and we're proud of that. That's what we do. It was not a pure reggae album or pure anything. Neither of us are interested in purity in music. I think it's nonsense. I think music is always a hybrid, and the more interesting and the more surprising it is, the better.
Interestingly, there have been reggae elements in your music since the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
How does that mixture of music, how was that felt by Jamaican people in London, for example? Can you remember that?
Yeah. Well, the Police used to tour with lots of reggae acts, Steel Pulse, for example, Burning Spear. We got a great deal of respect because we took it seriously and we weren't just playing. We could actually play really well. And we also played it in a way that had innovations in it. It wasn't just straight reggae, it had other elements to it. So we got a lot of respect from the musicians, which of course mattered more than anything else. And in Jamaica, as Shaggy tells you, we were known about and respected as serious musicians.
And you can see how respected they were, because recently Sting had an opportunity to come to Jamaica and do the Shaggy and Friends concert, which is in aid of the Boston Manatee Hospital for Children, which is a charity, a hospital I've been supporting for the last 15 years. And it was his first time playing in Jamaica. He's been to Jamaica many times. He even wrote a lot of his songs in Jamaica, Every Breath You Take, and a few others.
But I'd never played there.
But he's never played there, so this was the first time. And the reception, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of about 20,000 people.
Wow.
And that was there to sing. And as a matter of fact, if you listen, the deluxe edition of the album has a couple songs live from the actual concert, his first time in Jamaica playing. You hear the reception from the people and the energy from the people, and how receptive it was to his music. Mm-hmm. Both his solo stuff and the Police stuff. Okay. It was incredible. So that's how you test the barometer.
Okay. Will you be doing concerts for this show?
Yeah, we're planning on touring this year, starting in May. For a few months in Europe, mainly, and then we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Is the general theme of the album, talking about the lyrics, right? Is it we all have to do the best we can for a better tomorrow, or something like that? Could be.
Well, there's certainly some serious issues on the record, but they're treated in a way that is hopeful. It's not an angry record. Even though there's lots to be angry about in the world, as a strategy, I think we decided that to give people a smile and entertain them before we inform them. So it's a hopeful record, and I think that's a good purpose right now.
Can you tell me a little bit about Just One Lifetime, about that song, the meaning of it?
Well, the first few lines are taken from Lewis Carroll, and it's about the walrus and the carpenter.
He introduced me to Lewis Carroll, by the way.
Okay.
Which is a very unlikely couple. The walrus and the carpenter seem to be. They live in an absurd world.
Yeah.
Crazy, upside down world. We're living in an upside down world. So that it's a useful analogy for us. We are an unlikely couple living in an increasingly absurd world. So it's about a journey that they make through this world and how they survive. And so I've forgotten about that song.
I haven't. It's one of my favorites too.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites too. I like Crooked Time as well.
Crooked Tree.
Crooked Tree.
Sorry.
Everybody likes Crooked Tree. Yeah, it's got a lot of votes.
And that's kind of a really abstract one for us. So it's very refreshing to hear people really latching onto Crooked Tree. There's quite a few people that have been hitting us about that one.
That's cool.
Yeah.
There's also that song about dreaming in the USA.
Another one. That's always about.
Well, what is left of the American dream today, really?
The American dream is under threat, a great threat, largely through this administration and in the way it was elected. And so we felt it was important to write a love letter to the America that we love, the America that attracted us to live there, the America that made the movies, that made music, that made jazz, that made literature, culture, art. That Statue of Liberty, what it says on the side, I take very seriously. And so we want to remind Americans that that's what we love and that's what needs to be protected. Because if America loses that light, that idea of freedom, even though it's a paradox, even though it's by far from perfect as a society, the idea of freedom is very much something that the whole world looks to. And so we need America to succeed and get through this dark time. So this is our support for the real America, not the bullshit America that we're seeing in the moment.
Okay. Next week will be the 50th anniversary, so to speak, of the assassination of Martin Luther King.
50th? Yeah.
50 years. Could this have been a topic for a song or a statement at least?
Of course it could have been, but it didn't occur to us,
Yeah.
All of us have been influenced by the work of Dr. King. His wonderful oratory, his ability to create metaphors and powerful memes that can be carried into the future, even after his death, are immensely useful. And we need another one.
I think we did touch on it. If you look at what we do on this record, it certainly was a part of the message that Martin Luther King was sending. The message of treat others as you'd like to be treated yourself. And a lot of that was on this record where we're talking about love. We're talking about compassion.
Equality
for people. And a lot of that is what he preached. And I don't want to sit there and sometimes make it black and white, about black and white, It's about equality for all. It's about us being citizens of the world and not of our own little pockets or our own little cliques. And I think when we talk about hope, and the internet is an amazing tool, and there's certainly drawbacks to it also. But what it allows us to do is allows us to be a lot more aware of what's going on around. Now, the only thing that threatens that is what is known as fake news. because you see people doing so much things to create propaganda through the internet. But, you know, it's a different time we're living in, and it's going to be different. And because people are going to realize that it's not about their little pockets anymore.
Yeah.
It's about a global, you know, I'm more focused on global happenings more so than ever now, because it's available. It's accessible to me, you know, and I think of it as hope. And when I see what happened yesterday with all these children who demonstrated, it gave me hope of what that America, even though we talk about the liberties that are threatened, or freedom that's threatened, or way of life that's threatened, they gave me a little bit of hope to say, because these guys will be the next generation of voters. And you know, just democracy within itself. And you know, what I love about America, one of the things was the fact that nobody was above the law. And far too much in a lot of these countries where you feel these leaders have a dictatorship type of leadership, where they're above the law and do anything and get away with it. America was never like that. You know, you look at Nixon or any of these days, you're held accountable. We cannot have people not being held accountable for their actions. Mm-hmm. And that becomes a lawless land. And lawlessness is chaos, in my opinion.
Okay. Sting, you played in Paris for the reopening of the Bataclan. What did it mean to you? How did you feel about it? And especially, what is the reason why you accepted the invitation?
Well, I have a history with the Bataclan. I played there in the late 70s, or the early 80s, with the Police. And remember it very fondly. So when I was asked, I realized that the job was a dual job. I had to honor the dead. There were survivors there, there were relatives of the people who were massacred there. And so that was important to do, but at the same time to celebrate reopening of a very famous venue, which had to stay open as a symbol. And so that was a dilemma, if you like. So I explained my dilemma to the audience, first of all, and then asked for a minute of silence, which was very profound. And then I began the show with a song I normally end with, which is Fragile, which was very much in the mood. And then after that, people started to relax more, and it became more of a celebration. But it was important in the first, 10 minutes of the event to really focus on why we were there and honor the dead. It wasn't an easy gig. But I hope I did the right thing. I hope I did a good job. I don't regret it, but it was not easy.
Do you feel you have a special relationship with France?
I do. I think that France has always opened its arms to us as the band, the Police, and then me alone as a solo artist in a very sophisticated way. I think the French audience is very highly educated musically, and so I never felt I had to explain myself to the French audience. I think they like the fact that I always try to do something different, something new, and that's true to this day. So we're doing a lot of work here in this promotional tour in France, because I think they understand the collaboration here and how important it is to both of us and how much fun it is.
Okay. How about you? You feel something special with the French audience?
I'll tell you what, I've been coming to France for years, since as far back as 1993. And I've always just come here normally just for work. I come in, I might have played a concert, or I'm here on promotion. I've never really took the time out to actually experience France. And since I've been back with him on this trip, he's opened me up to liking France a lot more and liking Paris a lot more. And you know, just some of the stories that he's told me. And you know, last night we went to Lip Bistro.
Okay.
Lip Restaurant, which is a institution, you know. And I walked into this place and we ended up eating sardines.
Vintage sardines.
Yeah. And as weird as that sounds, it made me appreciate, you know, what France is all about, and the culture and the spirit.
Okay.
And yeah, so I'm a lot more open to it now, and seeing it through the eyes of Sting.
Okay. I have one last question for Sting. I don't want to take too much of your time. Thank you very much for having me. Bordeaux is very near Mont-de-Marsan. Do you have any memories of?
Yeah, I do. I mean,
festival?
that was the first real punk festival in Europe. I think, you know, the Clash were on that bill, the Damned, the Police were certainly on it, and we all travelled on a bus together from London to play out in the wilds of Mont-de-Marsan. And, yeah, I remember it very, very vividly, and it was a very good festival for us. You know, a lot of people saw us for the first time, with a very illustrious group of people. Yeah, it was great.
I'm amazed that you still remember like you remember venues.
Yeah, I remember the early dates more than I remember
the recent
when we played arenas, you know, and the height of our success, because those early, they were all so special. It was such an exciting time, and every venue was different. Now you play venues, they all look the same.
Yeah, because I can't remember most of my venues at all. I was trying to remember some of them early.
But you remember the first 100.
I remember the very first show I played ever in my life.
Where?
It was in Bayfront Park in Miami. And I was given a little opportunity to open for a concert, a concert that had a lot of big reggae artists. You know, I remember Freddie McGregor was there, and Barrington Levy was there, and Coco T was there, and all these guys were big reggae guys, and I was this young guy with no record, no songs, and they just kind of threw me up there to open the whole thing, and I actually, you know, spit my lyrics and did my performance, and got a response from the crowd, and you know, and I was just walking on air at that point. So that was my very, very first time performing on a concert. You know what I mean?
It could have been your last.
It could have been my last. You are absolutely right. You know.
If I'm not wrong, Sting, I think Mont-de-Marsan is one of the very few concerts where the Police was a 4-piece band.
Was it 4-piece?
Yes, Henry Padovani was in that.
Yeah, and Andy was already in it.
That's right. Yeah, I've forgotten that.
So there were 4 members of the band before?
Yeah. There's a guy from Corsica.
What happened to that guy?
Andy fired him.
Really?
Didn't want 2 guitarists. Politics.
Lord.
Can you say a few words in French? I know you can.
Yeah.
Oui.
On y souhaite qu'il me réponse.
See that?
That's very old French.
Non, c'est tout?
Oui.
Merci beaucoup, messieurs.
Merci.
Merci.
Merci.